Yeah, fine. Believe it or not, I'm actually healing a lot faster than I was anticipating. But yeah, two big items there. You got my thumb, you got this cut here, and this finger, and I got 6 punctures on my leg.
We can just edit it a little bit.
Nope, I want to check. Especially with dog bites. But we got a really strong antibiotic. We put that about 20 throat, so they're healing up pretty quickly. But the same thing on
somehow. Okay. It is 10:01.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to try and cover just a number of things today. How's everyone doing? Good. Okay, we're just going to jump right into things. So we talked about at the beginning of the year, reaching back out to all your clients and calculating the tax proration. Hopefully everyone did that. Now, the main thing you need to do for your value-added service is to go back for every sale that you had last year, buyer or seller, it doesn't really matter. I think what you need to do is go out and print out their 2019 HCAD form, okay? Then you're going to evaluate on your 2019 HCAD form how many of your people really have homestead exemption or not. So I just sampled my own, and about half of them had it, about half did not. You know, a single female male lawyer, I sold a $1.6 million house. He's a very busy lawyer. Doesn't have his homestead exemption. Doesn't look like he's filed for his homestead exemption. So you have 2 sample letters in your back agent, which we'll edit a little bit today. It's, hi, you were the buyer of a home for me last year. You need to understand you only have till April 30th to file for your homestead exemption. I looked online and it doesn't appear that you have it yet. You need to be sure that you file for a homestead exemption. That's the #1 thing. Make sure they file it. Then what you're doing is you're checking each of your sales to see what did they value the house at. So I sold 12 to 18 Studerwood for $352,000. 1218 Studerwood today has no exemption. So A, they haven't filed it, and B, they taxed them much higher than what he bought it for. I need to remind 1218 Studerwood, A, get your exemption. B, you need to protest your value because they taxed you more than you just paid for it not too long ago. You see, this is what you're trying to do. Check their homestead exemption. B, check their value. Yes?
I filed for my homestead exemption. It still says I have none.
Okay,
I don't know how
it could be. I mean, I would just keep checking every day here because they are updating every day. They're not great. Then many of your clients, or really all of your clients, are going to get a letter like this. It says, hey, your new value is something, okay? Now we're talking about 2 different things. One is applying for homestead exemption and checking your value. B is protesting your value should you, in fact, not like your value. So here, you would have to, this is one of my clients I sold years ago. Last year, he was taxed at $427. This year, he's taxed at $470. That's a 10% increase. Almost everyone in Houston, Texas, unless you flooded beyond belief, for 2019, automatically, they're going to add the 10%. Nobody went out and looked at this house. Nobody did any comps. Nobody did anything. They're going to rely on the private sector, the homeowner, to protest enough before they even pay any attention to it. So everyone in Harris County really got 10% increase plus any improvement that they made. If they put in a swimming pool that year, it's going to be 10% plus $35,000. They put in a driveway, it's going to be 10% plus $10,000. They got a permit to remodel their kitchen, it's going to be 10% plus $50,000. So they can do that, of course. Doesn't mean you can't protest it, and I think many people are going to be able to protest just fine. So protest What we need is this I-file number. Anybody can protest for anyone, but you can't protest without this I-file number. So we need to make sure that they keep a record of this form right here if they have any intention of protesting anything for 2019. Automatically, he just goes in, files his little protest, claims his value, you know, didn't go up, whatever. It doesn't even matter what you say over there, and just give yourself a hearing. To file for homestead, you have until April 30th. After April 30th, it's very hard. Jim and them's client didn't file for some homestead on one of his deals, and it's costing them thousands and thousands of dollars. A, the value jacked up significantly higher, you know, which you have no way to fix that. And B, they didn't get to claim their homestead exemption, which would have saved them about 20% of their total taxes or whatever. So you need to, the simplest thing, go
Or they're
through.
gonna come back and say, oh, well, the land values.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we don't need a lesson in how to protest. I'm gonna worry about that later. You're gonna protest in the summer. You just need to file the protest in a reasonable amount of time. The homestead exemption you have till April 30th. When you get this form, you have a certain amount of time, and it's gonna be, some people aren't gonna get this form until May 1st, and then they're gonna have longer than Eddie did. Eddie basically has till May 15th to do something. But many people aren't gonna get their, Eddie's lived in this house for 3 years. He can close it in 2018. He closed it in 2017. So he's gonna get his, the people who had nothing but just, you know, their new tax bill are gonna get these first. People who closed last year are gonna get this form later than most people, okay? Sometime if it's a townhouse that was replatted and there was nothing there the year before, you may not get this form you may not get it till July or August or September. You're still gonna have 30 days to protest that sort of thing. They still need to file for their homestead first. Number one thing, check the deal. So I went through mine. Here's another 607 914 Tulane, no exemption. Here's 937 Oxford, no exemption.
Weren't they given a packet at closing?
Yes, and if they mailed it in March of 2018, they threw that away. You must do it January 1 to April 30th. So if they did it last year for some particular reason, they didn't qualify because they didn't own the house until January. So I went to my closing last week, and the guy got the packet for his homestead exemption. He's all excited, except that form won't work for 2019. You gotta wait till you own it January 1 and file it in 2020. He didn't qualify for homestead on something that he bought last week. Only January 1. It's a snapshot of what happened January 1. So, print all of the HCAD. Many of them say exemption pending action. That's what you should be looking for next, you know, to see that they've gotten your form and they're processing it to see if you lied, cheated, stole, or if you really qualify or not. So they go to nothing. Here's 2626 Beauchamp I sold over there. These people. Now, I represented the seller. Okay? I'm trying to resell 2626 Beauchamp 5 years from now. So I'm going to reach out to some other agent's client.
The one that lives somewhere else.
That's right. And say, hi. Notice you haven't filed for homestead. Want to make sure that you do so by April 30th by using this form. B, you know, they don't have their value yet. I could look and see what we paid for burn, and then going to go back later and help them protest their taxes. So, everyone clear what we're doing? Printing out your HTAD, seeing what's happened, reaching out to the people. So here's 2402 Rutland that I sold. So they don't have their homestead yet. They've got their new value at 917. What did I sell that little jewel for?
Less than mine.
I sold Rutland, 2402 Rutland, somewhere. Didn't get credit for it, doesn't look like it.
How much?
Here you go. 860. So they're being taxed at 917 and they paid 860, you know, in the fall. So I will, two separate things. A, let them file for homestead exemption. B, remind them that they need to protest their taxes. And I need the I-file number when they get it. They haven't gotten it yet because they don't probably, well, they may have, because they don't have any homestead exemption. So if they have a value, they're getting this form. Doesn't mean they still don't qualify for homestead. Only have till April 30th because they did buy it last year. So you're trying to help them do two things. Get their homestead exemption and B, see if their value deserves protesting or not. And you're helping them do both of those things. And I would do the buyer side and the seller side. Don't do the rentals, don't do the lots, don't do those sort of things, just the single family houses. So we're gonna edit the 2 letters that you need, put them back on back agent in just a bit. Everyone clear what we're doing there? This is value added. This is what you're earning after your commission. This is what a professional licensed agent does. Okay? 2 things. Got only till April 30th to do this. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes,
So I have a client and their status says none, and they said that they sent it in February. Is there a way to check on
I
it?
did mine online on January 30th.
They're not the most efficient over here at HCAT or whatever. So, I mean, I would just tell them what we need to do is keep watching almost every day. They're kicking out tens of thousands every day now because they understand the stress of April 30th. People want to know if they've done it or not. If they don't have something, we'll figure out how you verify and get the information back to you.
Yeah.
So,
You can still do it on the app.
do what?
You can still check it on the app, on the HCAT app.
Okay, everyone know what they're doing there? Good information? Everybody been doing this? You were already gonna do this, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
good answer. Good answer.
Because you told me.
We're already done.
Okay, anybody got their own little I-file protest deal on their own house and
Yeah.
protested already? Did your value go up 10%?
Probably more.
Okay, did you protest?
Well, I'm getting to it, but I've got a full plate right this second.
Okay.
Is anybody like protesting company is better than another company?
Yes, and we're going to bring Ray Holtzapple to do a presentation. He did one the other day. Marianne, I sent him to you to set him up, right? I sent you his information to all of you, but let's set him up for another special deal, a class on protesting. He's about the most reasonably priced. He's a realtor. He's a good enough guy. He's not going to steal your clients. He doesn't want any buyers or sellers. That's really not what he does anymore. So we'll bring him over and have him talk about his services. Okay? All right. What else do we want to talk about today?
When they make up their, what's the word on the street? Because when they make up their mind not to listen to you,
Who?
HCAT.
Well, you can go to an informal hearing and you're going to go and bring your information and you may or may not get what you want.
Right.
If you paid $1 million and they've gotten you at $1.2 million, they should adjust that just fine. I mean, they should. Almost in every instance, they're going to do that. So that's an easy correction. If people just want to protest their value, the values in Houston did go up compared to the year before where you had a hurricane and some other things. So 2019, we had an increase. And so I don't think Eddie's going to be able to win his protest. I think he was undervalued the year before, but I'll just have to check and see. But you would run some comps and see what you can find about those sort of things and see if you can help them. Everyone wants to fight. You need to fight both the market value and the appraised value, because if the appraised value is up here, it's telling you next year we can go all the way up to that. So the market value can only go up by 10%. The appraised value can go up to whatever. Do I?
I think it's the other way.
And yes, it's the other way. It's your appraised value that's getting taxed off, but the market value is up here. You want to appeal both so that they don't automatically have another 10% or whatever for them to go up the next
Well, if
year.
land value's at 70 or 730, I should shut up and say nothing. Because I was valued at 641.
Sure, absolutely.
Shut my mouth.
Just shut up. I mean,
Shut
they,
Just, pay your taxes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had homes that the year before, the most they can raise you is the 10%. So if they've done something above the 10%, but otherwise, if you're undervalued, and there are plenty of people that are undervalued, then I would want to look at it.
And I had a client who sold a property, they did not sell their other property, it was actually in another county, but I was just looking at it, like, hey, your other property is worth a lot less than the property that you bought, so you should move your homestead exemption.
Absolutely.
They had thought about that, and they were fairly.
I would put it on the most expensive house if I own multiple houses. Okay, good information. Okay, where are we in our floodplain deal? Did we get the updated form?
I still don't see it in the HAR
You don't?
library, but here's the form.
You didn't see it?
Uh-uh.
Okay, are we clear on this form and the use of this form? Let's go down. They've updated it. This is, go down. This is the updated.
But it's
version.
not in the HAR zip form yet.
Oh, this isn't there yet? Is it in ours? Library? Can we not put it there?
Sure.
This is the updated form. It's not going to change any different. I went over this last time. I mean, here, go up. This new form was adopted, should be in the library later today. If it's not there, you're selling any house in the 100 and the 500-year floodplain. Really, you need every buyer to sign this form, okay? And we get the buyer to sign the form as a part of the contract, because you can't, if you represent the seller, you can't get the buyer to sign it 10 days later. I have no ability to make someone sign this form. The only ability you can have is your seller is going to get sued if you didn't get this information. Don't get sued by getting the information as a part of the contract. Before you sign the contract, don't execute a contract without this form being signed by the buyer. In any scenario, there's no scenario that you wouldn't want them to know this information, that the rules are changing, that we're regulating the 100 and the 500 in the city and in the county, that you may not ever be able to remodel your house. You may be forced to raise your house. You may not ever be able to do any remodel in the event something happens. I mean, they need to know this information. You need to be able to explain this information. Does anyone not know how to explain this information? Raise your hand now or forever hold your peace.
Good, not in any floodplain out there doing this.
It really doesn't. I mean, this is clearly identifying the rule today is regulating in the 100 and the 500. But it's telling you the rules change all the time, and they may tomorrow regulate because significantly more structures flooded outside the floodplain than inside the floodplain. So if I was the city of Houston, I still have to regulate outside the floodplain. So the rules change all the time.
Do you see the rule changing to include everything that flooded in our?
This is, I believe the substantial damage, substantial improvement rule will apply throughout the city of Houston, regardless of the floodplain very soon. Which means if you have flooded before and you flood again, and the value of the damage is greater than 50%, we're not ever going to issue you a permit to remodel that house again until you raise it out of harm's way. No one should want to invest money into any structure, any addition, any remodel of any house that's ever going to flood again in Houston, Texas. We should never, ever, ever allow someone to spend one dime on a structure that's going to flood. And we know where they flood because most of them have flooded multiple times. Now, if it flooded one time as a result of the release of a reservoir or something, I don't think that that's really going to apply. That's not what we're talking about here. Trying to keep people from taking their life savings and investing it into some home that's going to flood and their life saving is worthless now. Why let them do that? Seems irresponsible. You're feeding them a bunch of liquor and putting them out on the road here. They're just going to die at some point. They're wasting their money if they spend money on a structure that's going to flood. We know where they're going to flood. It's not going to let them do that. Yes?
Well, you even said, a tree falls on top of your house.
That's right. That's the way it's written.
You can't fix the house until you raise the house first.
Yeah, I mean, that is correct in the 105. Yes, that's correct in the 100-year floodplain today. Where it's really going to apply is if that structure has flooded more than one time, then yes, I think that's what we're going to look at and see. We're trying to find a way, systematically, to keep people from spending money on a house that's going to flood.
So what's the next step?
Well,
Okay.
regulate substantial damage and substantial improvement throughout the city. Have the county do it in the ETJ.
That's clear as mud. Say that again.
Impose substantial damage and substantial improvement where we have put it in the 100-year floodplain, put it throughout the city.
Yeah.
And don't allow structures that have flooded more than one time. I'm going to give you a pass on Harvey. I'm not going to say Harvey's not the problem. The problem is the structures that flooded. The White Oak condos here have flooded for 30 years, for God's sake. They flood all the time. These houses on Usner, the houses in the lower blocks of Bern have flooded. The garages have flooded 10 times in my 20-year career. How long are we going to let people continue to remodel a house, sell it to some new agent who doesn't know that it flooded because it ain't even in the floodplain? And White Oak happens to be in floodplain, but even the houses that aren't in the floodplain, the only way to protect it, protect the current homeowner from investing money in houses that they shouldn't be investing in, or keep people from buying a house that flooded that they didn't know that
So
it
what's
flooded.
the next step for the person that flooded, who can't sell it and get the value out of it because it's flooded?
The value of his Enron stock is worthless. And I'm sorry that he invested in Enron, but what they want to get out of their deal, I would love for my stock to be worth $100, but
So
it's
they
only worth
walk
20.
away from that house.
I think that they bought a house that's flooded and they shouldn't be able to spend any more money on it, nor should they be able to sell it to somebody else.
So
that's not
what's
flooded.
their next step? They can't.
Sell the land, hold on to it. We're going to rebuild in all these places, okay? We're going to rebuild. We're just going to rebuild higher, okay? So it is an asset, and it just depends on when you sell it. If you sell your flooded house when 100,000 other houses are putting theirs on the market, you're screwed. You hold on to yours, so you're the last guy, yours is worth a lot more. Yes, some people are going to be hurt financially. I got it. No one should ever be allowed to invest money into a structure that's going to flood, nor should we let them continue to go down a path of insanity, which is invest money into a structure, let it flood, get some insurance money, remodel it, let it flood, get some insurance money, remodel it, let it flood, get some insurance money, let it flood. Who buys it? Someone who buys it, remodel, and they flood, and they flood, and they flood. Why would you want to let people keep doing that? I can't fathom why you would let the White Oak condos continue to remodel on those first floors. Couldn't fathom. Think it's unethical. Think it's immoral. Should probably be illegal. I don't know how to do it other than to make it illegal. Yes.
Only for City of Houston properties?
Only for City of Houston. City of Bel Air already has this rule.
Yeah.
City of Westview is going to implement this rule. The villages will implement it soon. So, I mean, I think you're going to see more and more places, because I think in order for the counties to qualify for flood insurance, you're soon going to have this, because look, I'm the most liberal Democrat there is. We're wasting billions and billions and billions of dollars investing into something that's just worthless a few years later. Doesn't seem like we did anyone any good. We just delayed their inevitable. So at some point, you got to stop the madness.
But why would they just restrict their ability to buy flood insurance? So if they want to fix their house, they can just pay for it out of their own pocket. I'm just curious.
You could, yeah, I mean, you could, but still, the primary objective of the city should be the safety of its citizens. So why would you want someone to invest?
You don't want to, but
you shouldn't let them do it. I mean, all you can do is they will drive fast unless you have a speed limit. They will die without a seatbelt if you don't have them make. I mean, it's the same sort of concept. At some point, you've got to stop the madness. And the only thing you can do is to create some rules that don't allow it. I don't think it's designed to be punitive. It's designed to make them safe. So if someone flooded once during Harvey and the tree fell on it, because I did go back and clarify, and and we don't ever think it's going to flood again, then they're going to grant them the appeal at the General Appeals Board, and they're going to let them remodel their house. It's not designed to just stop people from remodeling. It's designed for them to take their life savings and invest in something that's going to flood and be worthless shortly thereafter.
What day was that promulgated?
Yesterday. We passed it last week,
Okay.
and they modified this little heading and this little heading, and they should upload it today.
Is that promulgated?
This is a HARIS approved form
But it's not promulgated.
for HAR. It is
Promulgated.
not a TREC promulgated form.
Okay.
Okay, we are working in notices in the legislature for new things there. Mario and I and the legal attorney will be in Austin soon testifying on that, so we'll be able to get to the hearing. It's similar notices for tenants. So we need this form, represent a buyer. If you're the seller,
Yes.
you really need this, okay? Because you're going to sell a house, and a year or two later, they're not going to be able to do something they thought they could do. And they're going to say, you knew, you're the licensed professional, you knew, you should have told me. You should have told me if I was deed restricted, you should have told me if I was in a historic district, you should have told me that I was subject to a drainage fee, or you should tell me if I can or cannot ever remodel my house again without raising it to $365,000 on top of the floodplain.
So Bill, I have a question.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like follow-up questions in this forum would be like, what is the city doing to help alleviate some
for this flooding, because this.
City, come to my class on,
Thursday.
come to my class on Thursday. I'm happy to explain that we are expending $5 billion to fix a $50 billion problem. So that's about 10% in my book. So doesn't mean we're solving it. Means we're heading down in a direction. And will the citizens of the city be willing to do what it takes to fix the flooding? Which means you must pay for it, okay, somehow. Most of the fixes are not short-term, they're very long-term, okay? Which I think we're definitely working on them, okay? FEMA has a rule, we're getting billions of dollars. We're getting billions of dollars to do a number of different things. Some just going into housing, we're not letting them remodel their house, we're putting the money into raising the house or buying them a different house. But we've never given the money. The way the federal rule has worked, you must put it back the way it was, okay? You take my billions of dollars from Washington, you must put it back the way it was, which is stupid because we know that it's going to flood again. So we have finally convinced them, let us take your billions of dollars, instead of going to FEMA, they're going to HUD, okay, for the first time, billions of dollars, flood mitigation project. They've never written the rules on how you're able to do that, so we're having to rewrite the rules. Washington isn't that easy. So that we can spend the money to improve the channels, the bayous, the drainage areas, so that we don't flood again. So we're not using the money to just dredge the bayou to go back again the way it was. We're using it to fix things. An example would be the Grand Canal, which will be part of Buffalo Bayou as we go by the Sunset Coffee Building where I'm teaching. It's a $750 million project, which will pull everything really along White Oak Bayou from about 610 Loop all the way to the Port of Houston, 4.5 feet out of harm's way. All of River Oaks, that's all of the Heights, that's really all of downtown Houston. Wouldn't you want to fix downtown Houston if you're the city and you have $1.7 billion in Jones Hall, Wortham Theater, the Alley Theater, City Hall that flooded? $1.7 billion, $700 million insurance, we're out $1 billion. We're gonna let that flood again next year? No, you gotta find some way to protect your assets, which protects citizens also. We're definitely doing things, but I think we gotta be clear, if the same event happened today, we're worse off today than we were 2 years ago. Well, those projects take a long time to do. Okay, wanna make sure that we're using this form. Sandra,
Yes.
you're looking for this form. Don't make me explain why we don't need this form. We need this form.
Clarify, it's every house? We're not checking, we're not.
We're doing this for everybody.
Claiming it is or is not in a flood zone.
That's right. Because I think they're subject, yes, because it applies to the flood zone, but 2,500 miles of the city hasn't been mapped yet. So they're gonna look up right quick in 2020 and they're gonna be in a flood zone. They didn't know they were in a flood zone, okay? So they need to know that I don't care about what the flood zone from an old map using 12 inches of water over 24 hours, when I know the new map's gonna use 18 inches versus 12. So I add 18 inches to the mix. A lot more area is gonna be in the floodplain, right? And then I add the areas that have never been mapped. The whole city's in the floodplain, guys. I mean, the whole city.
So what about if you know the elevation of the property you're trying to buy?
Well, I think that's great. I think you would want to know the elevation if you were in the 100 and 500 for sure. There's no reason, I mean, there is no, you already have to have it in the 100. Everyone in the 500 should get an elevation certificate. Everyone in the 500 should get an elevation certificate. Everyone in the 500 should get an elevation certificate. Don't know how to make it any clearer. Everyone in the 500 should get an elevation certificate. We teach that in that class. Everyone, so, new form, hopefully you're going there just fine. Let's go back over the non-MLS form one more time. I want to make sure that we're.
That is in
Do not. Our insurance company, our industry, the Department of Justice, every regulatory deal is trying to ensure that you are representing the buyer and not yourself or your firm or your broker, okay? If you're in a hurry to get a house under contract, then you look like you're really representing yourself and not the buyer or the seller, which is what we need to be representing. So they're very, 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 very hesitant, almost across the nation, to take any offer that's not been on some format for the world to see for some extended period of time. And we must really get in the habit of no more coming soon. Coming soon, it's documented. We've been sued. We all know. Only favors the agent. There's no advantage for a buyer because you don't know the value of any house until you put it out into the marketplace, which is a commodity. Okay? So I can show you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses in March that sold for higher than their list price. Okay? 100 in area 9. Okay? And you go through there and you say, well, I went on the listing appointment for 1414 Ashland. I told them it was worth $1,795,000, but you wouldn't know. They listed for $1,850,000. They had 6 cash offers. My people offered cash. They got 6 offers greater than $1.9 million in the first 2 days. And there's nothing that says it's worth that. Nothing on earth other than somebody wants to pay for that tree where a heron is. And I have no ability to tell you what the market's going to pay for that. You know how you know? You stick it out there and see what the world's going to pay for a tree with a heron in it. And obviously, it's a couple of $100,000 more than any comparable house. It's a 4,200 square foot house. What's that worth? $400 a foot. That's $1.6 million. How much is the tree worth? 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. The tree's a 100-year-old tree with a heron in it.
With a herring, is that what you said?
Heron, the night heron.
Bird, like a bird?
It's a bird.
Yeah.
These were,
It was
they're
My hair?
not herons. Go back 1414 Ashland, you can look it up. There's you're
I'm
looking
trying to find this form.
the form that we have.
The coming soon form.
All that thing, same thing. I can tell you, my 737 Columbia. HAR had one. She ran the comp. She thinks it's worth $950. We list for $950. You get an offer for $1,050,000. You get an offer for $1,100,000. You get an offer for $1,200,000. That's $250,000 more than Star told her client it was worth. You know what? That's what the market's going to pay for it. $250,000 isn't a little bit of money. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I'm just telling you what the market is telling you. You don't know. Tony's worried that maybe her listing was undervalued. The market will tell you what it's worth. There are plenty of buyers in our market that will tell you. So you've got to put it on the MLS and you've got to leave it on long enough for the market to tell you. Now, at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. The longer you're on the MLS, the less valuable it becomes. So the sweet spot appears to be this 3-day kind of 72-hour threshold. But if you take an offer too soon, and we've had it happen now in our firm multiple times, we list something, we tell people the highest and best in about 24 hours, we take an offer and immediately get an offer for $100,000 more than we just signed them up for. How bad do you feel when you cost your client $100,000? It's going to happen.
But how are these things that are $200,000 over what?
They all pay cash. They all pay cash.
Oh.
You sign the form that you don't need up to you make when they offer. We're going to go over that form next too. So don't put any sign up in this firm until you're on the multiple listing service. Don't put it up and put it on the MLS later that night. Put it on the MLS and put the sign up later. We don't have any coming soon signs here anymore. We don't have any. Don't put them up. They're not legal. They're going to get me sued. That is for you to get business. That's not in your seller's best interest. And this form tells the seller this. I mean, if the seller is just hell-bent on not putting on the MLS, I want him to talk to me about why on earth you wouldn't want to show it to the millions of people who are stalking HAR.com every day versus someone just driving by.
If the house is not ready, we've talked about this. I have it coming soon.
Don't do it. Why? Take it down. It's not in your seller's best interest. So we're going to go over there and I will explain to them. This is coming from the Department of Justice who's giving us. I'm telling you, they're telling you, this is why it's bad for the seller. They're telling them right here, this is why it's bad. And if they're just hell-bent, we'll let them do it. But I mean, we're not going to put coming soon. We're going to say that it's available, and we're going to tell everyone on our listing agreement, if you've got an offer, we're still not gonna accept any offer until we put it on the MLS and leave it on for 72 hours. Leave it on for 72 hours. You just tell the world, okay, put the sign up on Thursday, put it on MLS, showing start on Friday, tell people you're gonna leave it active, and take the highest and best by noon on Monday. That seems to be reasonable to the world. It's not reasonable to take some offer. What's selling is selling often for 101, 102, 103% over the asking price. The other stuff nobody wants. When it's been on there for 60 days, nobody wants that stuff. At any price, they need to take it off and do something and put it back on.
So what if you see a coming sign?
So text it to me and I will go on MLS and see if it's there and we'll ask them for the form. Nathan will ask them for the form, and if they don't have the form, they will remove it from the MLS or they will fine him, whoever that agent is. It's not legal in the MLS to have it coming soon without this form. So there are other places that will use this form, and I'm not saying other. There are plenty of unethical, uneducated agents who want a quick sell or want to get a buyer off of another listing. I got it. They want to sell their own listing. They don't want to go off with us. That's them representing themselves. We're not going to do that. We're going to do what's in the best interest of the person we represent, which is the seller in this instance. And I cannot figure out an advantage for a seller without telling the world. Why wouldn't you want to tell rich people in River Oak, Memorial, or Westview, who are the typical buyers for these houses today? It's not the next door neighbor. It's someone willing to pay more than you think. There are intangibles. You just don't know. Someone may only be looking for a corner. Someone may only be looking for that block. Someone may be only looking for that. I mean, that style of house. You just never know. You guys can run the comps all day long for 737 Columbia. A house not touched since 1961. A fire hazard with a roof leak on it that's brick that can never be painted with old windows. What's it worth? You run the numbers all day and it's worth about $475. But you know what? Someone's going to pay $575 because they want the 700 block of Columbia. And it's the first thing that's come up for sale in the 700 block of Columbia since they relocated here 3 years ago. They only want the 700 block of Columbia. Because on the 700 block of Columbia, you can walk to things on Studeway. You can walk to things on White Oak. You can walk to things on Heck Boulevard, and no strangers park in front of your house. And there's not another block. In the 600 block, they park in front of your house. In the 900 block, they park in front of your house. They park in front of your house in Harvard at Harvard Elementary, and they park in your block over here at Oxford, and it's too fast, and the kids get killed. So you know what they only want? The 700 block of Columbia. And they were willing to pay so much more for that. That's intangible you just can't know about until you put it on there. So, no coming soon. No coming soon.
You're gonna talk to them.
I'm gonna talk to
Very
them.
much.
Okay. Also, so let's go. We've been getting, I think when we have new listings, we're getting a lot more multiple offers than ever. People like the new listing. It is a total frenzy out here with new listings, which can be complicated. So we've created this little form that Rhonda shared, and we're gonna do, and it's just a little chart. There's one that's occupied and one that's empty. It's going to show you, things to show your seller when you get multiple offers, because it can be very confusing. So it gives you, slide over just a little bit if you can, the price of each offer, the closing cost, any seller contribution. It's telling you the difference between offer 1, offer 2, offer 3. Sometimes you might need this little chart to fill out to take to your client or have it online. So when you get another offer and this one goes, up by 5,000, but wants to close 3 weeks later, it's giving you some scenario. When is the closing? Is there a lease back? What's the term of the lease back? What's the option period? What's the option fee? So that you can compare offer 1 from offer 2 from offer 3. You can make more columns if you need over
Where
here.
is this form?
We're going to upload it later today for you. Okay? We're going to upload one that shows you an example and one that's blank for you to be able to fill in. Right?
The blank one's already, it's a second tab.
Okie dokie, the blank one's there.
So the thing you're gonna download, where you're gonna be able
Just plug it in. Just plug in the numbers. Show people the different scenarios.
Is that what you said?
Do they have credit approval, or are they just pre-approved? What type of loan are they getting? All the kinds of things that you might need to know.
What is this for again?
This is just a seller's net form where you have, instead of doing one net form for each offer, you're able to put multiple offers on one form. So that you don't have to go to 4 different forms. You can just update every time there's some little modification because it's happening so rapidly. This one's going up by 50, this one's going up by 48, this one's closing a month early, this one's getting on free rent. You're able to show the different offers in one location.
I created this originally to present different pricing scenarios when you're going on a listing pricing. Try to anticipate things, or even talk about, say, okay, look, we listed at 900,000, and we think we're, you know, maybe the market tells us we get 950, here's what you get. The market tells us we only get 850, here's what you get. So we can talk about those different scenarios, and then I tell them I will use it again when I come back and present your offer or offers. And then I actually share the Google Sheet with them so that we can review that over the phone. If we want to make any changes, we can do it, and they're automatically seeing those right in front of them.
That's pretty straightforward.
Okay, all right, let's talk about option periods. There's really no scenario you ever want to accept any offer without the buyer having some option period and paying something for it. $10 a day is perfectly acceptable. Even if it's land, even if they're buying it as is, it's coercion almost to make them feel like they need to offer without some ability to be able to terminate on some reasonable period of time. 1 day is not reasonable. There are plenty of people that have buyer's remorse. Plenty of people. So you've got to give them enough time. I believe 3 days is an appropriate time to give people to be able to terminate so that you can then say when they change their minds 3 weeks now, you had the unrestricted right to terminate. You had to write a check for it. Somebody had to explain it to you what you were writing that check for. And that was your cooling off period in order to take it. And so it's just not reasonable. Even if we represent the seller, you want the buyer to have some option period. For whatever reason, let them do some amount of due diligence. If you represent the buyer, same thing. I would find almost no scenario you wouldn't want the buyer to have some option period. So don't do one without consulting with me the scenario why you might. The only scenario is there's some sort of bidding scenario and they feel like that makes their deal more enticing, but it's usually not enticing. It's usually rushing the buyer to do something based on your recommendation, okay? And we're not recommending that they enter into anything that costs a lot of money where we have very little ability to get them out of a contract where they don't have some period to at least really think about. 3 days is fine. Yes?
Melissa bought a property from me. She waived the option period.
There are, and I'm not saying we would never do it. I would go back to Melissa and say, you're an experienced buyer, you know probably what you're getting, but what happens if you're buying 501 burn and you think it's 50 by 125 and really it ends up being 44 instead of 50? What are you going to do about it?
Right.
So, I mean, we let, who's Jamie Waters' new husband, the builder and memorial, whatever.
Edwards.
What's his name? Alan Edwards. Yeah, we let Alan Edwards kind of do the same sort of thing. He has more experience of that than David and I do. He knows those properties better than I do. He was a pretty smart guy. So, I mean, there's some scenarios you might let someone do that, but it would depend upon the other terms of the contracts. I mean, very rarely, why wouldn't Melissa just want 2 or 3 days just to think about it? Because I will tell you, Melissa's bought her way out of contracts also. I mean, it's not like she hasn't figured out, no, that wasn't really what I thought over there. So they still need to have some reasonable period to think about it. Not that, I mean, there's an exception to every rule, but I don't think there's hardly any other scenario that a typical person wouldn't need an option period.
So, Bill, I have a deal going on right now with a relocation company.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
They have an
representing the
inspection period.
buyers.
It's the same.
Okay.
I mean, it's built into their contract. They just don't call it an option period because they come from a different state, but they have an inspection period.
Another-
Which have the right to terminate
Right.
with some fee paid associated with it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Questions about that? Where else are we going? Financing subject to appraisal. We still have some questions here, so we're going to go over this little scenario one more time. Third party, remember that you've got so much time for the buyer to get approval or not. That's just the buyer. It has nothing to do with the property. I still would make that day the number of the option period. but sometimes it just doesn't matter. But other than a third party, this is where we're getting into, especially in these competitive deals. So what are we doing after the buyer is approved, but we want to don't want to make it subject to appraisal, especially these bidding wars or you have multiple offers. What are our choices over here? And are we clear how this works? I'm buying a house that's 300. I'm offering 375 for this house. Wouldn't matter which scenario I was. If I represented the seller over here, I'd say, fine. I want you to only be subject to appraisal at 300,000. I listed it for 300,000. We were offering 375 to entice my offer. I don't think it ought to have to appraise for 375. And if you think it has to appraise for 375, are you really just getting under contract knowing that it's probably not going to appraise? Okay? You're just delaying the inevitable. So typically you would then check the box that you only have the right to terminate if it appraised at whatever, 299,000 or 300,000. Okay? If you want to make your offer more attractive, you don't really care. So a lot of these houses that I'm selling are high, and they may or may not appraise. It kind of depends on the appraiser. I'm putting 50% down. My loan's exactly the same if it appraises for $1.3 million or $1.4 million. Doesn't really matter, and I want to make my offer more attractive. I'm going to check the box that it's not subject to appraisal. Still going to get an appraisal, which represents the lender. Not always an accurate reflection of the price, and it might make my loan didn't change. And if you're talking about 2 or 3%, it might, but typically the person putting more money down, it's really just not that big a deal. And the higher the price house, the less likely it is to appraise. May not appraise. You have a couple of options here. It either has to appraise, or it doesn't have to appraise, or it has to appraise for some number that's mutually agreeable. So when you're representing a seller, you want to make sure if someone's bidding over the price that they don't have to appraise more than the list price. Okay? The best thing you can get is someone who doesn't want it to appraise at all. That's the most attractive financing offer. It doesn't mean they can't finance. My clients bidding on Ashland are going to get a loan, but they don't care what it appraises for. They don't really care. They're really gonna borrow against their own brokerage account anyway for a brief period of time, sell their house in West View, repay back themselves, whatever, they paid interest to themselves. So they're using the house as collateral, but we don't really care anything about the house because they're really borrowing against their own money. Right. That's a type of financing that's pretty common over here. Builders do the same thing. I mean, they're really just using a line of credit.
Does that apply to people paying cash as well?
Sure, I mean, if they're paying cash, you shouldn't need this at all. Right. Wouldn't need it at all. It's just not so fancy. Are we clear how this works?
And I got you there on that last one with the effective date.
Yep.
I've actually gone in there and drawn through that and changed that to an extra days of delivering the appraisal, because it's hard to know when you're going to get the appraisal. It's always a guess. That's the effective date of the contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to be careful not to practice law by doing that. So you might advise your clients, but you gotta be careful when you start modifying these forms. You can put something else somewhere else, but I would be somewhat careful about it because they have so much time to terminate after they receive the appraisal based on the contract.
I just put a long day. I put
30
days.
That's works fine. Works fine. Okay, questions about that? Did I confuse you? All right, what else do I want to talk about? I think the market is very interesting. Still believe they really want, I don't know how to say, I really wish we would just list these houses for $1. I'm convinced we would get more money if we listed them for $1 because then people just bid whatever, which might be higher than the list price. They've got this psychological thing about list price. But certainly we're seeing the frenzy of people who have comfort in knowing that someone else wants. This is really the validity they're looking for in their decision making today, which is unlike any other time we've really had. It doesn't really matter what price point it is. They want to know someone else wants it. And half the world just doesn't want it until anybody else wants it. I can take 707 Euclid. I don't know if you've seen it. Doesn't have any backyard, it's over there. 769. I've been on for about a month. My guy doesn't have to sell. Yes, it was 750 last year. Yes, it's 770 this year. He doesn't want to sell for $750. He wants to sell for $770. If you want to buy it, pay him $770. If not, he has to have a place to live anyway. It's a pretty nice place to live. That's what he wanted. Not everyone liked that. They were, when I listed, why did it go up? He painted it and he put in a washer and dryer. It's a shitty washer and dryer, but he put in a washer and dryer. But because that's the price he is willing to sell it for, is the only real answer. And you know what? I dickered around here for a month and then finally got an offer on Sunday and then had 5 people who told me that they really wanted it, that they were just waiting, and now I can't believe I took an offer and I didn't give them a chance. I'm just going, it was there for a month. Nobody wanted it for a month.
Don't you
They only
sort
wanted
of
it
that
to be.
dynamic called the law of attraction?
It
How many
is.
times
People
have
want what
we-
other people want. Absolutely, that's what they want.
Yeah, but it's mystical. It's out in.
It's clearly evident in the new listings so that you see it. I really think if we've had these listings on for 30 days, we're forced to take them off and do something. And I'm often not only convinced, sometimes it's raising the price just as easy as it is lowering the price. But I think just lowering the price doesn't do anything to stimulate anyone anymore. I think it's probably the single biggest phenomenon, and I know it's kind of hard when the prices are lower, but I think the real thing almost every realtor's doing is paying for staging. I mean, that's what they're doing. Whether they're doing it in the beginning or they're doing it in the middle, we lose listings. The number one, if I go and look at the listings that we lost, the biggest difference when they relist is with someone who staged them. I didn't say it really mattered, and that's really what, after 30 days, I guess I was wrong. And you can look at 506 Aurora or whatever it is, they went to someone who staged. I have gotten almost in my mind, I'm willing to go pay $2,000 or so to stage the first floor of every listing that I have. And if I'm not, I'm going to lose that listing to Compass or what's his name from here, David Atkins, who will go stage it. They will stage it. They will not charge their clients. Some will try and charge their clients. It's harder at $379,000. I get it, but you're going to have to do something. So we're going to have to figure out a better way of doing that. And so I think one of our challenges is how much furniture am I going to have to go buy so that we're able to go stage these people. But really, if you're not using Maria and Sandra and some of these people, and if they don't work, we'll have to find some more. But staging the house is probably, other than the photography, is probably the most important thing to do. So I'm almost of the opinion, because you got to have something to do in 30 days, is maybe start no staging. And then 3 weeks into it, if you're not under contract, pull it off for a week and let them know up front. So my memorial listing, I gave a list. This is what I'm doing on week 1. I'm taking the photographs. It's going to be daylight. Week 2, I'm going to do a broker open house. Week 3, we're going to put on the nighttime photos. Week 4, we're going to pull it off and we're going to get a countertop in the secondary bathroom. We gave them a chart to get from A to B so that they see that we're doing something every week for them. If not, after 30 days, our dates are going quarterly, okay? And I think the world they have this sense of entitlement and a sense of immediacy, and they don't have the wherewithal to hang in with us like they used to. This is realtors in general, it's not just us. But I think, seriously, you're at risk of divorcing if you don't do something if it's not 30 days. So we need a new 30-day action plan. We need to execute well in the beginning. Pricing it right so that you create the frenzy is about the most important thing. You will not underprice the house. If you do what I just said and leave it on 72 hours, you will not underprice the house because the market will tell you what it's worth. And it's much better today to price it lower and have multiple offers and multiple choices than it is to price it high and try and beg someone to give you an offer close to what your sellers want. And they may not, if they want $989, they need to list for $969, not $999. Okay? It's the opposite of the way we used to do it. The market will, you don't have to take an offer. We're not going to make them take an offer that they don't want. The market will tell you what it's worth when there's more buyers than sellers for those type of properties. So, yes.
How do you determine when a low price bump, might be good, an increase might be good for the listing?
Well, I think what we found is if it is a brown kitchen with a stained kitchen and a brown countertop, I'm sometimes willing to try because I don't want people to go through the effort if it's absolutely not necessary. But typically what we've done is try about 3 weeks, pull it off, paint it, raise the price, put it back on. So I'm getting 60, 18 rows. They've been on the market 2 years. They've tried Martha Turner. They've tried John Daugherty. They hate the Vice people, so they're just not going to go there. So, I mean, they've been at it 2 years. It's on HCAD for $1.4 million. They've been priced at $1.150 million. It ain't the price. You know what it is? Brown threw up all over it. Okay? And so, I mean, we had mutual friends, and they called and said, look, you're really smart people. Your house hasn't sold and isn't going to sell in this condition. It's just not going to. So, I mean, we can Photoshop things, we can give people these ideas, but you know what? They got grandma furniture and they got a brown kitchen and a brown countertop and a brown backsplash. We're going to have to go over there and redo their countertop, redo their backsplash, paint their brown, and stage it. Raise the price $100,000. We're going to spend about $20,000, I think, maybe 25. Raise the price by $100,000, and I'm convinced it's going to sell. The buyer who wants to live in Memorial Park, or walking in spitting distance from the park, wants modern furniture. They don't want any Louis XIV or King George shed or anything old. They don't. Come on. They don't. Well, you buy that stuff for pennies on the dollar. They want Mitchell Gold and Roche Bobois and Knoll and Design Within Reach. That's what they want. I mean, and it's proven time and time again. So I mean, that's where I think there's where I think you can raise price. We've done it a bunch of times. Bill Jordan's old house on Newcastle, same thing. I tried it, $7.99 brown, painted it, raised the price to $8.29, got under contract immediately. You know, it almost can always pay for itself.
Well, I took a beige house in Katy and painted it white, and it's not that.
Yeah.
I wish I had some beige.
I mean, you tried both ways. It didn't sell beige either. But I mean, for the most part, it's true. And I do think there's some sub-markets or something, but typically inside the loop, that's what you're looking for.
Becky asked a good question. She asked who pays for staging. It used to be the seller, but almost always. It's the buyer, he says. It's almost always the buyer's agent. I mean, it's the seller's agent. I mean, I think this is what we have to be realistic. I'm unwilling to lower the overall commission 99.9% of the time. But I think we're going to get to spend some of our 3% on something instead of discounting. Discounting didn't fix anything. The staging did. The staging was a value to them. The staging almost makes them feel a little more committed to you. Now you've got, if you take their shit stuff and you move it out and you put in the staging stuff, and literally, I mean, I'm a realist, and they're thinking about whether they're going to renew with you or not, and they think about all your nice stuff that was staged getting out of their house and it going back to looking ugly, they're way more apt to renew with you. They're way more apt. So, I mean, but I just think it's going to be one of those fees that in many instances you've got to be willing to pay in order to get one of these listings at 6% in many scenarios. It's nice when they don't need it, but it's just going to be the way it is.
So your Kensington,
yes.
The seller said that she talked to Martha Turner agent, told her to remove one thing from the house, and she was very impressed with that.
We were painfully on. I've had a number of these memorial listings that looked like grandma's house, and we were brutally honest with them, and I think that they loved that we were brutally honest with them. Then they didn't have to decide between the husband and wife or something. They just, we made, I mean, there is nothing in this room I like. Remove it all and just start over. There is just no way to make this look good. I don't know how to be more. What did I have to lose? Nothing. I mean, I think sometimes we've told Rose Street, you can keep 2 chairs in the living room that you bought this century. The rest is yours. It's not going to sell otherwise. It's really not. I mean, I figured it out. It's just not going to sell. And so you just got to be more honest with them.
What if the house is empty? Are you preferring staging?
I think we're doing about the same thing. I sometimes wonder if the staging isn't overrated, but it seems to be with the mindset.
that thing is it, right? What I really like to do is start 2 or 3 weeks without the staging and then see how we do, and then give myself something to do. I mean, that's what I particularly like. Sometimes I wonder if I'm wasting 3 weeks or not, but you don't want to go through all that effort if you don't have to. Sometimes, I mean, I prefer to buy a house. I look at even the one on Oxford that I'm selling. It's never going to look any better than this. There's just no way the people buying it can make it look this nice. I think they're going to buy it and be totally disappointed, but that's Star's problem, not mine. Because I just think sometimes they look so nice. A few people are intimidated to say, you know what, my stuff just doesn't look this nice. And maybe they'll buy new stuff. I don't know. But I think giving yourself something to do, having an action plan is good. And you know, so that's what I tend to. Unless you just know, if it's grandma stuff, if it's from the 70s or 80s or 90s, if it was family ties, you probably need to get rid of it.
So we have that house, they're still living there and they have to take out all their stuff where they put
It's
it.
only if they want it, they're gonna have to move it anyway. Most of the time, they don't want it in their new place, so just get rid of it. I mean, get rid of it.
And how much is, I know it's hard, it's the size of the house, whatever.
If it doesn't look like a Mitchell Gold advertisement in the Shoestone magazine, then it's not good.
Look at the price for staging-ish, right?
2,000. Stage the downstairs
For 90 days.
Yeah.
Is it across the board that the agent, I didn't know that, where?
Ashton and David Atkins, and then they're paying $6,000. That's basically what they're
For 3
paying
months.
for 3 months. So we're trying to sell ours within the 3 months. That's the overall goal, right? And we're not, you know, we're maybe not going to that same level as someone paying $6,000 or $10,000. I mean, 5% listing that doesn't sell, 6% listing, and a few $1,000s of investment. Probably, I'm a realist. Probably get to do some of that. You're inundated with $500 discount brokers and 1% discount brokers, and I think to be worth 6%, and I think we are. I think you gotta stay on top of the taxes and the insurance and the flood stuff and the market, but I think we're going to get to invest a little money in things like a new doormat or a new mailbox or a few $100s here and there. The higher the price, the the investment. And I think that's where we're at. Questions? This is good, a little conversation here. Firm's doing great, actually. Last year was the best year we've ever had. This first quarter was the very best quarter we've ever had. It was the very best January we've ever had. I think this was the second best March we ever had. Overall good. We will be moving soon. I promise that we'll be moving soon.
This year?
This month in April. We're going to, we're about done. Another week or two. We're gonna put up the furniture, work out a few of the kinks, just not rush over here. Not gonna eliminate all this sort of stuff. Kind of get it open, and I think probably kind of move in phases. You know, let Sandra and Kath move in over there. Maybe I'll move in over there. We're just not gonna do it. Can't do it in a weekend. We're not gonna do it that way. Just gonna slowly transition over there. But we'll be in for sure by the end of the month. We have a number of things planned for May and that sort of kickoff stuff. I think it'll be. Parking is still going to be challenging, and I think you still have to work out how that works. Better than here. Questions about that? All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Bill.
What about Thursday?
What do we have on Thursday?
The wedding class?
Yeah, we